Good afternoon. I'm Al Cresta. Joining me right now, Cardinal Donald Wuerl. He is the Archbishop of Washington and was elevated to the College of Cardinals in 2010 by Pope Benedict XVI. Cardinal Wuerl is known nationally for his catechetical and teaching ministry and for his efforts over many years on behalf of Catholic education. He's chairman of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops Committee on Evangelization and Catechesis. He was appointed to the Relator General position for the 2012 Vatican Synod of Bishops for the New Evangelization, for the transmission of the Christian faith. He's the author. Many of us remember, it's my first experience of Cardinal Wuerl was in the Catechism, the teaching of Christ, which was one of the few things that was helpful to me as I made my way back to the Catholic Church back in the 1980s and into the early 90s. In the last few years, he's published The Mass, January 2011, and also The Gift of Blessed John Paul II in April. And then most recently, Seek First the Kingdom, Challenging the Culture by Living Our Faith. And Your Eminence, thank you for joining me today.
Al, I'm very happy to be back on with you.
Well, this is one of the most intense periods, I think, for Catholics in America that I've seen. This HHS mandate, for instance, I do not recall any time in my lifetime, anyways, that I've seen the federal government put forth a regulation which would require a religious institution to participate in activities that it considers either intrinsically evil or in some way scandalous. Have you ever seen this before?
No, I think your observation is absolutely exact. I would say that this is, to the best of my knowledge, the first time that we have seen in our government an effort to require religious institutions, churches and all of their ministries and affiliate programs to do something that they can't do.
Yeah.
And what makes this mandate even more pernicious is embedded in the mandate is the new definition, according to the administration, new definition of ministry of ministers. Now, you know very well that the Supreme Court just recently, in a vote of 9-0, affirmed that the church, whatever religious that is the only one who can determine what ministry is and who the ministers are.
Right.
But here we are now seeing a whole new effort to define for us who we are. I think that's why the Conference of Bishops unanimously is struggling, together with so many people across this country, to have that mandate redone, if not completely removed.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to you and to the voice of your program for helping people understand what's at stake here.
Well, thank you so much. It was shocking when I first read it. I did a double take. I thought, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before. And sure enough, as I talked with people, this is unprecedented.
Yeah.
And our listeners, by the way, we were so happy at the leadership of the bishops and the solidarity that was expressed. But I know within a matter of 2 weeks, I think we had close to 50,000 signatures on a petition. Now, we've never seen response like that before to anything that we've been engaged in. So I think there are a number of the American people who are concerned about this. I'm just hoping that we can keep this clear, because it looks to me as though the mainstream press would like to cast this as an issue of sexual morality and contraception rather than this issue of religious liberty.
Well, I think you're right on target there. It's to the benefit of this administration. It's to the benefit of some elements in media to make this appear as if it's just a question of free contraceptives.
Yeah.
And of the church being against people being able to get contraceptives for nothing. And we're saying the issue is, why are all of us, everyone, being forced to do something that by definition we can't do. And that definition is our religious freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't hear in a lot of the mainstream media, at least on one side of the aisle, you don't hear much discussion of religious liberty.
Right. No, I know.
Part of that is because this is an easy sell to this culture. It's an easy sell to this society to say, you're going to get free contraceptives.
It sounds like such a small payoff. Give me your religious liberty, and I'll give you free contraceptives. I mean, just talk about a mess of pottage here, giving away your birthright for a mess of pottage.
But I think when you mentioned all the people who signed that petition, I think there are loads and loads of people who are perceptive enough to see through this.
Yeah.
And they're saying what you're saying. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's something much more at stake here. That's one of the reasons why the Catholic Church has all these voices joining us.
Yes.
Voices from other religious communities. People who have no particular faith affiliation saying, hey, wait a minute. Isn't that one of the constitutional rights?
Yeah.
Aren't we guaranteed freedom of religion? And I had a conversation with a person who said to me a couple of weeks ago, I disagree with you on just about everything, but he said, if they can take away your freedom of religion, they can take away my freedom of press.
Right. I agree. This was a coercive move. How do you read the future on this? I mean, do you think this is likely to be settled by Congress taking action, or is this something that's going to have to be struck down in the courts? Do you think the Obama administration is going to see their way clear on this? Do they actually understand what's at stake?
Al, I think it's all of the above.
Okay.
I think here's what is going to have to happen. The voice of people is going to have to be heard, and that's why your program is so important. Helping people sort out what the issues are. The more that people speak up, the more chance we have of rolling back this mandate or certainly radically redefining the exemption in it. But if we don't get that, then we have, simultaneously with that, the effort to convince our legislators that they should do something. And remember, all the people who are concerned about this also get to vote.
Yeah.
And so if they let their legislator know they're unhappy, they're already taking a step in the right direction. And the third is appeal to the courts. And I think we'll probably have to go there as well.
Okay.
Even if the mandate is changed so that the exemption is extended, I think we have to address, and we have to ask the courts to address the whole idea of that embedded definition of who we are.
Yeah. It's very frightening to think that the U.S. government would begin defining who's a legitimate minister within a religious institution, or somehow so narrowly define the free expression of religion that we're only allowed to practice a so-called right to worship within the four walls of the church. I just don't understand how you can have a definite religious liberty here that would have inhibited Jesus from who he ministered to. I can just imagine him saying, well, good, I guess if I want the exemption, I'm going to have to make sure I stick with Palestinian Jews on this.
It doesn't make any sense at all unless you come at this from the perspective that you want a totally secular society.
That's.
But once you look at the real issue, this definition would force us to say, in all of our soup kitchens, all of our parish services to the poor, our pantries, when the person comes up, we don't any longer confine our question to, are you hungry, do you have a need? We have to say, can I see your baptism? It's absurd.
It is absurd. It's utterly contrary to the way that we conduct ourselves in serving others.
Well, this is why we're arguing that it's against the First Amendment, because we Catholics believe that Matthew's gospel is binding.
Yeah.
When Jesus said that we are supposed to feed the hungry, the thirsty, and clothe the naked, and we try to do that institutionally, we try to do that through all of our services, we're saying that's a part of who we are.
Right.
We're not free to say we don't do that anymore. And the government is saying, well, we think that should be your position.
Yeah. Do you think, I'm curious, do you think that this goes back to, I mean, are there a group of activists out there that are, I don't want to be too conspiratorial, but, I do know that social policy gets pushed along oftentimes by small activist groups. Are there groups out there that are dead set on trying to narrow the definition of religious liberty so that we are confined to serving only our own kind, and so to speak, and that we are confined to just things like distribution of the sacraments or worship services, stay in the four walls of the church? I mean, is there an activist movement out there that has some power that's working this?
Well, I think there's a mentality. When the Pope was here in 2008, he spoke about the barriers that bishops face when they're trying to teach the faith. And he said there are three of them. There's the secularism that is so much a part of our country. There's the materialism that is deeply rooted in the fabric of our nation. And there's the individualism that simply focuses for people on themselves. Well, that's the background, that's the backdrop against which the effort today to say, we really are a secular culture, and that there isn't any other horizon. Why would we have faith-based entities participating in the life of this community? There's another side to it, too, a little bit more sinister, and that is there are those who simply dislike us because we are.
Yep.
The Catholic Church is the only organized voice that has consistently spoken in favor of life, that's spoken in favor of morality, sexual morality, fiscal morality. And when you add all that together, there are a number of people out there who don't like us.
Right. I think that's something many Catholics are just becoming aware of, that there is a spiritual conflict going on, and that as much as we try to get along, as best we can with everyone we meet, there are those who are going to be just, in principle, opposed to what we stand for.
Yeah, and we should be proud of who we are. That's one of the things I say in Seek First the Kingdom. The first thing we have to do is renew our own appreciation of our faith.
Yes.
And we have to renew that intellectually and affectively, in our mind and in our heart. But when we do that, that should give us the courage, the confidence to say, I'm proud of who I am.
Right. Your Eminence, thank you so much. Cardinal Donald Wuerl, Seek First the Kingdom, challenging the culture by living our faith.